Hello everybody and welcome back to Hive Prometheus. Today the Munitorum points finally came out, luckily not in the last week of April. So we're going to go ahead and pop up an image here so we can go ahead and review those points. And we're just going to look at what happened here. Okay, I see a lot of green. Wait, what is this?
What the hell is even that? Shit! God damn it! Same shit, different day.
Alright, so going from the top here, we've got Barbagons have gone down by 5 points from 60 to 55 per squad. Those are going to be useful tech piece against infantry-based melee. Like World Eaters and Orcs are probably going to rise back to the top now that the Custodes have been taken off their high horse. Second in line, we have Gargoyles going up to 85 from 80 points. A well-used, good unit in our codex that we have to bring realistically to contest primary and score. Hive Guard went down 10. I don't know if you're going to be bringing them at 100 points when Zoanthropes are now 100 points. We'll get to that. Lictors went down to 55 from 60, essentially a nothing burger. Psychophages, this is interesting, went down from 125 to 95. They are now our cheapest monster in the army. Really good to look at stuff like Crusher Stampede, Assimilation, Vanguard, even Invasion might potentially want to tech one of these in to get a little extra 6-up Feel No Pain for their army. Swarmlord went down 30 from 270 to 240. He's still overcosted by about 20 points. I think he should have been at 220. Warriors with melee weapons went down 10 from 85 to 75. The squad of 6 warriors with a winning Tyranid Prime now is about 215 versus Gene Stealers and a Broodlord is 230. They are mostly more point efficient against softer, lower toughness targets now compared to Gene Stealers with dev wounds. Range Warriors went down to 65 from 70. They're still really bad. They're the same points as Hormagaunts, and Hormagaunts are arguably better. Point for point in what they do. Tyrant Guard went down to 85 from 95. That's nice, especially for Michael Del Toro's Assimilation Swarm list that went 5-1 at Scorched Earth. And then Zoanthropes, necessary anti-tank for our army, went down from 110 to 100. I really would have liked to see them at 95, so then a full squad of 6 would have been 190. It would have been the same points as the Tyranifex, and then you can kind of pick and choose whether or not it's better to have the Tyranifex's larger body with lower volume of shots and swingy damage is better than having lower toughness, a block of wounds with a 4-up invuln, and more consistent shots that have 2 different profiles. But I just have some fundamental problems with this update to the points because our better lists, Invasion, Vanguard, what have you, are using Gargoyles, and they're usually using 2 or 3 squads of 10. And those all went up points. None of the other things that you are using, Exocrines, Maleceptors, Norns, Tyrants, the big stuff that you are going to bring, went down any points. So net, most people's lists went up or down 5 points. For a faction at 43% win rate, which is probably 2 standard deviations outside the mean of the bell curve, where you want to hit 50% GW, it's not acceptable. And I'm going to go ahead and list the YouTubers, or people who are supposedly an authority in the community, who said that Tyranids are fine. They're not. Hellstorm Gaming, Trevi from Tactical Tortoise, Goonhammer, of all people, when they were doing their Xenos article, said that this was a win. This is not a win. This is a win for Vanguard and Assimilation, who we're seeing mid and low tables, other than Michael Del Toro, an outlier, a great outlier. But these points are only going to help lists that hit mid tables after 1 or 2 games, and then they get bullied by any mid-table menace, which is going to be Necrons, Orcs, Thousand Sons, and Tau, and they're all going to be the podium armies. Maybe even Eldar still, because they're still a problem. Sisters and Black Templars also may not be top contenders. They'll be mid-table bullies. So you've got about 6 or 7 armies here that we're going to have to contend to get to the top 8, and you're not going to beat them. Not with these. A bunch of Zoanthropes and some Tyrant Guard is not going to beat that. Also, by the way, World Eaters got some really nice point drops. So their Mauler Fiend is now the same points as Old One-Eye. It's 140, but that's a T10 body with 14 wounds. Sure, it doesn't have a Feel No Pain. You might get the 6-up on the turn that you have that for your blood dice, but it moves faster, has the same melee, it has a gun, it's overall a menace, and that's not even a good unit for world leaders. Here we are. Tyranids have to play the game very strictly, and the units we have to bring specifically to control the board are very limited. Gargoyles being one of those. So when you increase those points so that we have to take something else out of our list to keep taking them, or replace that with Hormagaunts, our reach is diminished. And games that we would have before been able to eke out wins or ties are now going to become losses. So we're no longer going to be a 43% win rate army. You're going to see our win rate diminish slowly as people lock in their lists, they figure out the meta, and the people who are either the diehards or the competitive people who are going to jump out. You're going to see the win rate come down to 41, 40, 39, and I think we're going to settle anywhere between 38 and 40% win rate for this season, because the people who would play this are going to go play other things. I'm considering it. I've got multiple other armies I could play, but I don't have 16,000 points of those other armies. I haven't played those other armies for 15 years. I'm invested. Sunk cost fallacy. I'm in this for life. So I was way more frustrated this morning. The people I will give credit to and recognize our play outside of Deathwatch and Admech are Richard Sigler from Art of War, and he had some choice words, which I'll read to you in a moment, and the guys from 6++ Gaming, who, upon seeing that Gargoyles went to 85 points, immediately burst into laughter and said, "Stop, they're already dead," and then they moved on to World Eaters. No other comment. It's not looking good. It's really not. Let's be realistic here. I'm going to still play Crusher Stampede, and I'm still going to try to eke out wins. So there's about a 40-60 split of people who think that we're not okay versus who we are okay. I challenge you. Do you play this faction? Do you religiously try to get wins with this faction? Do you go to RTTs and events? Because we do. So, reading to you those choice words that Richard Sigler had in the Art of War podcast this morning, he says, verbatim, "The bottom of the meta is just not going up. This is my biggest problem, is that the bottom has to get a significant buff. And if you're not willing to do a rules change at this moment, you do some amount of points and you go back and say, here's the rules, we'll bring it back the next time." It's unfortunate because it is time. AdMech had a garbage index, a garbage codex. We don't need more data. Let's get some damage in this army, please. I want to play an army, not a pile of stats. And the Tyranids have the same problem, is that they have a lot of stats out there, but I'd like to see some better things going on. So, guess what? Bottom two armies, barring Deathwatch, he says have the same problem. It's just a pile of stats, there's no damage, or a board control army with an army rule that only affects you sometimes once per game. And if you're a low leadership army and you just pass all those battle shocks, cool. We shot our shot and it didn't work. We didn't flip the primary, which is the thing we need to win games. We played the secondary game wonderfully. Oh, but that's right. But the Gargoyles that just went up points also help us in the primary. So thanks for that, GW. So I'm going to go ahead here and have some concerns voiced from the Tyranid Discord, kind of all put together. These are not just my words. These are other concerns of other Tyranid players. The first of which, so the Gargoyle change essentially made it so that it was plus 15 points to all feasible competitive Tyranid lists. Necron shards are equal points to the Norn is a joke. That was a nice little fun poke by Trevi from Tactical Tortoise. The Wing Tyranny Prime is still 65 points, and they're objectively worse in every way when compared to a Lictor. Some say that the Gargoyles going up 5 was spiteful, and the hilariousness of a Norn and a Nightbringer being compared to each other for the same price is laughable. The Lictor is still cheaper than the Parasite by 25 points, and you would take that every time. Even a person here running an off-meta heavy double Norn, 1 Malscepter, 1 Excrin, no Gargoyles, Winged Hive Tyrant, Neurotyrant Von Ryans, Carnifexes, and a Barbed Hierodule got a total of minus 5 points to its list. It's going from 1995 to 1990. A person who purposely runs alternate meta and has been struggling to every match that and he got essentially 0 help. The ability to hold enhancements and give up Assassinate should not cost points when looking specifically at the Parasite and Mortrex. Our stratagems for Will of the Hive Mind are still broken. Let's see, somebody who says, I run Super Off-Man and gained 80 points, but that is Michael Del Toro, specifically with his assimilation list. Zoanthropes are not better anti-tank than Eradicators, and they are more expensive. Eradicators are 85 for 3, I believe, which is crazy. Hiveguard got points decreases, but it's so small it almost feels like an insult. Why does GW think they're on par with Zoanthropes? Really? Swarmlord's Vect and CP Generator are not worth more than 100 points. Without those, he is worse than Old One Eye. Comparatively, 140 points to 240 there. They think Naturalized Camo is worth 30 points, but who has ever really used that in Vanguard? And why do the Crusher Stampede enhancements cost more than 0 points? They are bad. I know, I don't take them. Swarm Mines and Rippers are still a major crutch that people actively dislike playing against, and we have to bring the Biovore, and we have to bring the ability to seed mines. Not touched, no point reductions whatsoever. But yeah. So what does this mean realistically for casual play? You can play with more of your bugs, you can play more with the Tyrant Guard and Zoanthropes and Lictors. All of those are things that you probably want to be running in Assimilation and Vanguard, like I said. That's great. Invasion probably didn't really change much. My Crusher list went up 15 points because the only thing that was affected was my Gargoyles. So now I'm really considering, do I just throw out a Ripper and some Gargoyles and throw in a Psychophage? Do I just try to see how many Fuma Pains I can milk over the course of the entire game from all my high toughness monsters? Probably. That's probably what I do. So that's the list I'll be running this weekend. In the meantime, though, I'll be waiting on some more data. I'll be looking at specifically the performance of other units in other detachments, probably from the Tyranid Discord, and then I'll adjust my tier list appropriately. Other than that, I don't know if I have a whole lot of positive words. If you are getting into the game right now with Tyranids and are trying to learn the faction and be better with it, your job just got harder. Now, I'm normally one of, I would say, higher than average resilience, playing this faction for almost 15 years. I've seen a lot of ups and downs. I played a couple of games through 6th and 7th. I was really unhappy, and we were bottom of the barrel, basically all edition. We are lucky here, though, that things are rolling and they're changing every 3 months. If you play often like me, 1 or 2 games a week, that can feel like an eternity because it's wash, rinse, repeat. You play sometimes with the same lists, or you're trying to champion a specific detachment like I'm trying to do with Crusher, and it gets stale. I don't want to switch to other detachments stylistically because I like the way that Crusher plays. I like Godzilla, I like Kaijus. Stylistically, that is of great allure to me. So I'm going to stick with it. It's going to be a little tough. I'm probably going to dabble and play a couple of my other armies here and there. I've only played about 3 other games out of my 45 for the edition. I still think that Tyranids, although they're not an army that has an extremely high skill expression like Thousand Suns do, I do think now that the pilot is going to matter even more. I think your wins now are going to be predetermined by how skilled you are. It's going to be about, I'm going to say 70% the pilot and 30% the army. Whereas I would argue other factions, reroll factions or mortal wound factions, it could be the opposite. You point, you click, you kill. You can pick up the faction really quick. It's a low model count. It's an easy buy-in, and there's a concerted community. Or it's an army like World Eaters or Thousand Suns, where the model range isn't very large, so you can titrate down to the list that you're going to want to run inevitably. Whereas Tyranids have 54 some odd data sheets. And there's a lot of experimentation that has to be done. There's over 10,000 people in the Tyranid Discord, and we all talk collaboratively on our successes and losses. So we probably reduced the learning curve for each other immensely, and we're still in this position. So if you need help, ask for help. Totally fine. But also, if you personally can't handle it, and this is a game that you use to blow off steam, have fun with friends, and try to escape reality, and it's not working for you, do what works for you. Don't feel you're beholden to an army that's going to beat you down and make you feel like a punching bag, literally or figuratively. So, enjoy the game if you're going to enjoy the game. You don't have to get upset like I did this morning, but that was my choice. I did choose it. So, on that note, thank you for coming by Hive Fleet Prometheus. I hope you learned something today, and we're all in this together. I'll catch you next time.